Craig Berube shakes things up ahead of the Buffalo game. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Want to go down to Buffalo for the game tonight? Use that promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you can get yourself $20 if it's your first time using Gametime. What's happening, Dave? How we feeling on a Friday?
Man, it's preparing for the big the sports, the Toronto sports storm. Weekend we got going on.
We got an equinox this weekend, don't we? We have one of those little sports equinoxes coming up where it's going to be the Jays, the Raptors, and the Leafs all playing on the same day. So it's going to be pretty epic. And I mean, obviously, Game 1 of the World Series going to garner a lot of attention. And once again, we've got the Maple Leafs, Raptors both deciding to switch up their schedules a little bit to make sure that there's, no overlap. I saw even Buffalo decided the Buffalo game is starting a little bit earlier tonight in Buffalo instead of 7:30 start, which is typical for the Sabres home games.
Yeah.
They're going to start at 7 o'clock. So that, there's a half hour less of overlap because keep in mind, Dave, there's a lot of Jays fans in Buffalo, right? Like, they were there for a whole season when they were playing in the Bison Stadium during COVID, and the AAA franchise. A lot of these players, Vladdy and Bo and Savage and Schneider and Lou, like a lot of these guys came up through the system and played in Buffalo. So there's a lot of fanfare. So kudos to the Sabres, who also decided to make a change to their schedule. So just a reminder that tonight's game, 30 minutes earlier than originally scheduled. So it's a 7 p.m. puck drop tonight against the Sabres. And it's a home and home back-to-back. Then we got Buffalo tomorrow as well. And at least changing their start time to 5 p.m. A 5 p.m. start on a Saturday. Hockey Night in Canada making this work is kind of interesting. To be
but it's just the understanding that the World Series, as much as Leafs are kings in this town, World Series, it's another level, right? Like Pharrell Williams is going to be performing ahead of Game 1 or during Game 1 or at some point on Friday. Like they're coming out and bringing out the big stars for this thing. But I was concerned that how exactly we have to keep an eye on what the Leafs are doing, obviously for our show purposes. And I'm just like, yeah, I'll watch the first period, watch whatever I can, but the rest of that thing is gonna be PVR'd. like to be fair, it's just and this is we knew this was going to be a possibility when they did it during the ALDS or DS or CS. I'm trying to remember now.
The CS. The CS.
When they changed it, when the Leafs changed the game. Now Thanksgiving Monday, that's an easy. You're already going in the afternoon 2 hours earlier. It messes with a bit of timing and scheduling, but also it's like, hey, you guys want to just stick around and watch the game here? Now they can't do that on Saturday. Really, I think they may be able to pull off a little bit of it. But I think there might be a little bit of a slight overlap. I'm trying to think.
Saturday, no. Saturday they'll be okay. 5 o'clock. First pitch on Saturday, I believe, is 8. So they should be fine. There will be a bit of overlap. So October 28th against Calgary. So what's that? Next Tuesday, I believe it is. Whatever it is. October 28th, I believe it's a Tuesday. The game against Calgary, they're switching it from a 6:15 or 6 o'clock start or 6:15 to 6. Now, why this game was at 6:15, I really do not know. But they're moving that one 15 minutes up. But that game is going to also there'll be a bit of overlap there, I think, is the expectation, is that there'll be a couple hours of overlap. But, I you couldn't change it because that's a weekday game, so you couldn't make it a 5 o'clock start or a 4 o'clock start. You could do that on weekends, and that's exactly what they're doing Saturday. But the weekday game, I guess 6 o'clock was the earliest they felt was they were able to do and still get Leafs faithful in the building. Because let's be honest, I mean, as much as you and I love this, and we love both the Leafs and the Blue Jays, there is a big segment of the fan base that also cares about the Leafs, and they just want to watch their Leafs play at a regular time, and they'll get to do that on Tuesday, I suppose, or whenever that game against Calgary is. But yeah, so there it is, the quick update on the timing this weekend. If things progress further into next week, maybe there'll be some more time changes. But for now, just know that the next 3 games, the timing of these games are different than originally scheduled. And kudos to the Leafs, kudos to the NHL, kudos to the Sabres for all being willing participants to kind of make this happen so that Toronto sports fans can get to watch both their Leafers and their Jays compete in the same day.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Let's get into what's cooking, because it was a pretty eventful practice today to the Toronto Maple Leafs. There was an update on Chris Tanev. Morgan Riley did not skate in practice with the main group, and there may be something bothering him. We'll get to an update on that in just a moment. But Craig Berube said the other day he was getting pretty tired of what was going on that top line. Patience was waning. Boy, oh boy, did he ever decide to shake things up. The lineup blender has been taken out by the Maple Leafs ahead of this home-and-home series against the Buffalo Sabres. Let's take a break. Let's come back. Let's get into all the updates next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Rugiet. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it'll all be handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit Rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL to get $15 off your first order. That's Rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL, and you get to use our code LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order so that they know that we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. Today's show also brought to you by Gametime. Hockey season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets to the game could be a total headache. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. What I love about Gametime is that it just can't be simpler to get tickets in minutes. And I love that you see what you pay. There's no hidden fees at checkout. And I could see exactly what my views is going to look like before I even bought the tickets with their in-app seat view feature. And the zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section, Gametime picks your seats, and you save big money. You can even find NHL tickets for around $25 in select cities. So take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with brand new episodes diving into everything about your beloved Toronto Maple Leafs. You can find the Locked On Leafs podcast wherever you get a podcast, and also up on YouTube. If you want daily content, make sure you subscribe to those platforms. All right, Dave. The lineup blender was brought out in practice on Thursday ahead of the game on Friday. Let's take a peek and see what Craig Berube is deciding to go with for Friday night's matchup against the Buffalo Sabres. Because he said he was not too pleased about the performance of this team of late, and patience was waning thin. And well, he's decided to make a big, bold change. And not only was there, a move on the top line, but realistically, this is almost a major shift in a lot of different aspects within this line. So let's go through it and talk about the lineup changes and our thoughts. So the top line, you've got Auston Matthews centering Bobby McMann and William Nylander. You've got Knies, Tavares, and Michelli as your second line. You got Dakota Joshua, Nick Waugh, and Easton Cowan, who looks to be drawing back into the lineup as your third line. And then Domi, fourth line center with Yarncroc and Steven Lorenz on his wings. We'll get to the defensive changes in just a moment, but the forward groupings, Dave, what do you make of those changes here by Craig Berube?
Yeah, I mean, we talked in length about this being a possibility, but the last thing I expected was Bobby McMann to get bumped up, but I don't hate it. I actually I like that move because I've liked what I've seen from Bobby McMann. I think he has brought, a lot of energy. I think he's skating really well. He's fat. He'll bring more speed. He'll be a lot more tenacious too, right? You need someone that's going to go on there and hunt pucks, and Bobby McMahon's going to do that. And we've seen Bobby McMann play with Matthews for a little bit. We know that Nylander and McMahon played with each other quite a bit too. So, the fit's there. The fit makes a lot of sense. It's just now it's on them to try to get this going, because it's the coach is playing the hand that he can in order to try to make this work. But now it's on the players to go and perform.
Oh, 100%. And like Bobby McMann is the guy you're looking at, and you're like, okay, I thought it was going to be Michelli as well, but it does make sense because you need someone who's going to go and hunt some pucks. And McMann, he's got lots of speed. He can dump the puck in and be kind of the first forward in, along with Nylander and then Matthews. Like, that's a line that will have speed, right? Like, that's a line that should be able to generate a lot off the rush. And then those three guys are both pretty strong dudes on the puck too. So they could get that cycle play going and then filter the puck out in front of the net and make life a little difficult. So I don't mind. I think it's a worthwhile, to try it here. So we'll see how they perform. But Knies, Tavares, and Matias Michelli is going to be a very interesting line too. That seems like a line that can get real heavy with both Knies and Tavares. They can get in front of the net. Michelli kind of being the facilitator, just kind of get pucks to the net with his, precision passing, and probably looking to get some tips, deflections, guys bang away at rebounds. It's probably going to be that style of play, I would think, with that lineup. That might be the thought process of how they want to game plan to attack the Sabres with those guys. Yeah,
I think you're trying to bring more energy, bring more pushback, I guess, from that top line. I mean, Matthew Knies has been bringing it, but I guess, Nylander's got speed. Matthews can skate, but he doesn't have the same speed footprint as what a Nylander has. And McMahon is probably the closest you'll get in terms of on the wing, somebody that can, go.
He can fly, man.
Yeah, he can fly with Nylander for sure, right? Yeah. So you do have that on. And I think defensively it should be fine too. Like, Matthews is still good defensively. McMahon, we know he's reliable defensively. Willie, well, we know Willie's deal, right? When he wants to play defense, it's possible, but it's just not the we know that really it's going to be up to Matthews and McMahon to be the defensive guys on that unit.
Yeah, probably. Now the bottom six, I actually really like the makeup of this bottom six here, and I don't know why they didn't try doing something like this before. I think like almost one of our first iterations of a lineup, and when you thought of, okay, maybe Nylander could be on the top line with Knies, and you thought, Michelli, Tavares, McMahon, like that could make sense. And the bottom six was kind of configured this way, at times. And I like the fact that they're putting Nick Waugh at 3C, because I think this guy just needs more time. Like, I think this guy needs more ice time in general. Like, his time is down significantly this year compared to previous seasons. You know, like you look at this year's playing 12-24 a game. Well, the last 3-4 years, he's been 15-13, 15-27, 16-17, and then 16-15. Like this guy's playing the least amount of hockey he has in 4 years here. Yeah, 4 years. And you know, it's a guy who's coming to a new team, new organization. He's still trying to learn the systems. Are a little different than they were in Vegas, but he needs to play. He needs to figure it out and get on the ice. I still think he's a good player. It's been a slow start for Nick Lavoie, but I like the fact that they're giving him the opportunity to play 3C. Hopefully that'll pick up some extra minutes for him and get him closer to that 15-minute mark. I think that's where you want to be for Nick Waugh, and doing it like this makes some sense. So I kind of like the way that they've configured the bottom six here.
Yeah, initially I was like, Domi as 4C, but with those two players, like they'll bring again, they can skate. Him and Lorentz definitely will skate. Yarncroc is that they should be defensively responsible enough, and they can cycle the puck, right? That should be a really good cycle line. I thought maybe would you have I think also you get. I was debating about Cowan on the third line with Waugh and Joshua, but I think they need someone offensively there that's going to help drive a bit of offense there. Like he's got two bodies. Cowan should be, and let's just say this: if any players are going to try to take any liberties with Easton Cowan, Nick Waugh and Dakota Joshua ain't going to let that happen.
Yeah, this is true. This is very, very true. So we'll see how it looks tonight when they take on the Buffalo Sabres. Defensively, some changes as well. So Chris Tanev has been placed on IR, which was retroactive to Tuesday when he left the game the other day. And so he'll be out for at least 1 week. So he has to miss 7 days of action by being placed on IR. So he will not be in this weekend at all. Next Tuesday, he'll be eligible to come off. So he'll miss at least the next 3 games, which meant got to shake up the blue line now with him not playing. So Berube went with McCabe and Carlo, Morgan Riley and Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and then Benoit and Phil Myers draws into the lineup for the first time this season as the replacements. Probably it's like this is what makes sense, I guess. You know, Carlo and McCabe are two defensive defensemen. There's your shutdown. Riley and OEL have played together at times last season. And then, you want to keep Benoit and Myers as your third pair. This was probably the only way that this was going to go. Probably the best bet for deploying your defensive pairings.
Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal to have Carlo and McCabe together. But I mean, maybe
together.
I think it'll be fine. I think once obviously they got to practice together today to be together and kind of understand who's going to do what. I think McCabe is going to have to realize he can't be going out trying to hit everything that moves and put himself in a bad spot like he did in the last game.
Yeah,
but I think it can work. And frankly, I do want to see if that is an option. McCabe and Tanev have been, obviously we know that the history of the two have been good. But maybe if McCabe Carlo works, can you consider Tanev going back with Riley at some point?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Totally.
I do think that's something that's worth considering. I understand there's that shutdown ability, but McCabe and Carlo should be able to do that as well.
Yeah. And Morgan Riley actually didn't skate with the main group in practice on Thursday. There wasn't necessarily an update per se on Morgan Riley. It was more so Mark Masters tweeted this out. Craig Berube says Morgan Riley is dealing with an injury that he picked up on Tuesday and said, quote, "I don't know yet for tomorrow." So that was yesterday. He was talking about Riley's status for this game. So they may be without Morgan Riley as well. That is possible that they could be without Morgan Riley too. And I would clearly make a change and imagine Benoit and OEL will pair up, and then Dakota Mermies will draw in with Phil Myers. Was probably how that would go. But you go into a weekend back to back against Buffalo, and now you got no Riley, no Tanev. You're switching up all your forward lines. It's going to be an interesting weekend. It's going to be a very interesting weekend for this Maple Leafs team, and Buffalo's actually played very well over the course of their last couple of games here after a tough start to the season. So why don't we come back and let's get into what's going on across the border. Let's look at the Buffalo lineup, and we'll take a look at our players to watch and the keys to victory for the Maple Leafs. That's all coming up next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. The NHL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. You can build parlays, player props, follow the live lines. It makes watching hockey even more exciting when you got just a little something riding on the action. So whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, David Morassutti with you as we are each and every one weekday, Monday through Friday, free and available. You can find the Locked On Leafs podcast on all podcast networks, Apple, Spotify, or wherever else you can get a podcast. So the Leafs getting set for a weekend back-to-back against the Buffalo Sabres. Just another quick reminder that the timing of the games have changed tonight. Game starts at 7 p.m. in Buffalo, and tomorrow, a rare 5 o'clock start for the Maple Leafs on Saturday, hockey night in Canada. But the Maple Leafs, the Sabres, and the NHL doing a solid for us Leaf fans who want to also watch as much as the Blue Jays in the World Series as possible. Still crazy just to talk about the Jays being in the World Series. Imagine, Dave, if at some point in our lifetime the Toronto Maple Leafs got there and the pandemonium that would ensue if the Leafs went on a run to the Stanley Cup final. I mean, what's going on with the Jays is awesome, and everyone in the city is all into it and for it. But like we all know that Toronto and the Maple Leafs are a whole other story. If they ever got their act together and got deep into a postseason run and made it to a Stanley Cup final, holy smokes, how the city would be electric.
Yeah, it always, it was even with the Rap. It was my first, obviously our first experience with that was with the Raptors.
Yeah.
Like that parade. That was our first time ever.
I was in the womb when the Blue Jays won their last championship. So I was kind of around, sort of.
Oh, I'm talking about the Raptors. Like when the Raptors championship
happened
in 2019. Like my head, it's my stupid head at times. Man, what it would have been like if this was the Leafs. My head did that, and I'm just screw off. Like let me enjoy the Raptors parade.
Yeah, nice win for the Raptors to start their season. By the way, I think they set a record. Yeah,
they need to get their together. The Raptors doing their thing, the Jays are doing their thing. Like, when was the last time all three teams were all seen as playoff? I know the Raptors, it's one game where
I don't think ever. But honestly, I don't think ever, because like the Leafs were totally junk for like a 10-year span before Matthews and Marner got here.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the run where the Raptors got their act together about during that. That was the midway point of them, getting to the ultimate goal of winning a championship. I guess like that 2019 run where the Raptors did win, like the Jays, like they made the playoffs for the first time that year, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was the year after. But like that's like early 2020, like pandemic year, where fans couldn't even appreciate what was going on. Like that may have been kind of the last time that all three teams were like playoff teams that were good, but never have all three, I guess, been like championship contenders at the same time. And I don't think they are right now either. Like the Raptors, they won their first game, but it was against Atlanta. It was not a great team, and it's one game. We'll see. I don't like this team's a borderline playoff squad, and the Maple Leafs haven't shown that they're a championship contender quite yet either through 7 games. And Not that they're going to be able to prove that against the Buffalo Sabres this weekend, but Buffalo's been playing well. They've been playing some good hockey. And, if they can kind of stifle this team, who's won 3 of their last 4 games after losing their first 3, they beat Detroit, ending their 5-game streak the other night. So that was a big win for them. They're playing well. You got to give credit where credit's due. They got that team kind of cooking. They've got some decent goaltending they're getting from like random guy. Like Alex Lyon has come out of nowhere.
Always Alex Lyon, man. Alex Lyon is just. I hear that name and I'm just like Alex Lyon.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. Like Alex Lyon just continues to win games for NHL teams. Like he had a shutout against Florida a couple weeks ago, or a couple games ago, right?
His former team, by the way.
His former team. Beat Ottawa. Colton Ellis came in, drawing, and he ends up saving 31 shots against Detroit, who's been playing well. So it's a good team. They're playing all right at the very least. A couple of injuries. Let's take a look at their lineup heading into tonight's game. The projected lineup for the Buffalo Sabres. So you got Zach Benson with Yuri Kulich and Tage Thompson, Josh Doan, son of Shane Doan, along with Ryan McLeod and Alex Tuck, Jack Quinn, Noah Ostlund, and Jason Zucker as your third line, Peyton Krebs, Kozak, and Beck Malenstein as your fourth line. Defensively, it's Dahlin and Byram, Owen Power, and Connor Timmins on the top 4 for the Buffalo Sabres. Interesting. Matthias Samuelsson, and Metza as your third pair. And then unsure who the starter is going to be, either Alex Lyon or Colton Ellis. I would guess will probably be the Lion King based on, his career numbers against Toronto being pretty good. So a couple injuries, obviously, like Josh Norris is out again. UPL, they got a couple defensive injuries as well. Jacob Bryson, Michael Kesselring. But this is the lineup that's been winning some games for the Sabres. But when you look at it on paper, like Toronto should be able to beat this team. And we've said that for a couple of games now. Said that against Detroit. Said that against New Jersey. But if they're not working hard enough and outworking those teams, they're not going to win. And now that there's a whole new group, a whole new shakeup of the lines, you have to expect that has to be an eye opener for this team to start, to get going now, because we're almost a full month into the season. Like next week, it's going to be November next weekend. Like they got to get cooking.
No, they do, and that's always kind of been the concerning part, is that American Thanksgiving, if teams are out of the playoffs or they're struggling to be in a playoff picture, the future, it's a bleak outlook for those sort of teams, right? So, and at least they'll want to find themselves in that position. So I do think that this is, one of those situations where Craig Berube is trying to get this team to understand that what's happening right now, not acceptable, right? This can't be acceptable for this group. And I don't think they are happy with the way things are going. I don't think they're in any way thrilled about the way their season's going. But I think he's trying to get to understand, all right, we got to get things going here. We need to start we need to get our game going. Otherwise, people are going to start wondering if this is, and people are already saying it, like, is this team going to be barely making it to the playoffs? When have we ever thought that would be a possibility for this group?
That where it wasn't a guarantee?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, again, you got to go back to probably Matthews and Marner's rookie year. Like, they made the playoffs that season, but they weren't expected to. It wasn't an expectation. It was a nice surprise. But since then, that's been the expectation, that this is a young up-and-coming group, and now to a point where it's a very veteran group who's expected to play to expectation and perform and produce and work hard. And, they learned so many lessons over the years. You would think that they would just show up every night playing their best and playing their hardest. But yeah, like they clearly are a team that everyone has playoff expectations on. And to this point, they have not lived up to them. They're completely middle of the pack. You look at expected goal differential, expected goals for, they're middle of the pack, ranking 16th in the NHL, 49.93 expected goal for, which, not great. It's not great to be middle of the pack. Now, it does make them a playoff team since half the teams actually make the Stanley Cup playoffs. So it's not that it doesn't make them a playoff team, but it doesn't make them a contender. I can assure you of that. So I think that Toronto, they certainly this weekend with the changes that were made, I think there's some extra expectations on them to perform and come up big. And I want to see a blowout against Buffalo in one of these games.
Yeah.
They've done really well against the Sabres of late. Like they've won 5 straight games against Buffalo. I know there was a time there where it was like, oh, Buffalo always gives them fits, but they won 5 straight games against the Sabres. They won all 5 games last year against Buffalo, or all 3 games against Buffalo last year. And the last one was a 4-0 win. So, they've got a 4-0 win, a 6-3, a 5-3, a 3-0. Like they've been the far better team against the Sabres over the course of the last couple of years. And I would expect them to be just as good this time around as well. You would hope to be at the very least, because they have to be. They got to get going here, man. Got to get going. Like we're coming up on, games 8 and 9 on the year, 10's right there. And all of a sudden, dude, we'll be 20 games into the season and a quarter way through.
Yeah, and like again, I don't think either one of us is like sounding the alarm bells right now, but we also understand that with the way things are currently happening, needs to be better.
Yeah,
it has to be better.
Got to be better. All right, let's take a look at our locked on players to watch for tonight's Leafs and Sabres game, or I guess the weekend back to back. We're taking a peek at Josh Doan, the son of Maple Leafs management member Shane Doan, having a pretty good start to the season. Came over in the JJ Peterka trade this offseason, and he's supplying them with some offense. 3 goals, 6 points, got 21 shots on net, playing in the top 6. So it's good to see Shane Doan flourishing in Buffalo. Coming over from, did I say Arizona? That's $1 in the swear.
Well, he is an Arizona native, so
yeah, sure. Yeah, all right, we'll take it. I was correct then. But yeah, coming from Utah in that trade for Peterka over the summer, he's played pretty well for Buffalo to start the season. So I would expect for Toronto to be kind of locked in on what he's been up to, because he's been able to produce so far.
Yeah, and in Arizona, I was skeptical when he was playing for Arizona, even for the Mammoth. I was skeptical if Doan was going to be able to kind of reach the potential that I think he was second round pick, right? And he got moved to Buffalo, and you're like, oh man, poor guy. He's like finally gets a chance to maybe get out of. Well, Utah's not bad.
Yeah, Utah's not bad now. It seems like
bad.
The owner Ryan Smith, he's got some good things cooking. It's a good team, but
it's kind of felt like he didn't have like an ideal fit on that team, right? A lot of young players and stuff. With Buffalo, plenty of opportunity, man. Come on down, and he's taking advantage. Like he had solid numbers in the AHL. I said, okay, this guy can maybe amount to something in the NHL, and I just don't think the opportunity was there. So I think it's a good fit for him in Buffalo. Hey, he's close to dad. Dad's not too far away. Mm-hmm. So I
top of the building, maybe a little extra juice for Josh, possibly. Let's take a look at our player to watch, our locked on player to watch for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I think there's really only one guy who we got to look at, and it's Auston Matthews, the captain. Has not had a good start to the season. Just 1 goal at 5-on-5 through 7 games this year, and that's a continued trend from last year, where he had 2 goals in the last 16, 17 games at 5-on-5. So this has been a concerning trend that dates back to a season ago that continues to persist, but he's got new line mates now. Right, he's got Bobby McMahon and William Nylander. Can they shake it up? Can they get things going? Can they get cooking? Matthews has had a lot of success against Buffalo over his career. 21 goals in 29 games, and he's been a face-off like savant against the Sabres, winning almost 60% of his faceoff draws over the course of his career. You would hope that tonight is the type of game that gets Matthews going, right? Like he needs a little bit of juice to get going here. He's saddled up with Nylander. He's kind of been called out by his coach. He came up flat after promising that they were going to be better against New Jersey. Against a divisional opponent here against Buffalo, certainly with the way that him and Daun have gone at it at times, this has to be a big bounce back game for Auston Matthews for me. He's the guy.
Yeah, I mean, nobody, Nylander was the first punching boy, right? He was the whipping boy initially when things were not going right. Now that focus has totally shifted, and this year more so than ever. Without Mitch Marner there too, guess what? When you take a player like that off your team, the pressure and the spotlight focuses on a different player because now that quote unquote excuse is gone, right? You can't be blaming that player anymore. So Auston Matthews, and he's the captain, he has to own everything. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying he hasn't owned it because he said that the team hasn't played well enough. But it also starts with him. He's the leader. He's the best player. He's the highest paid player. He's supposed to be the catalyst. And now he has to go take it upon himself to get out of this.
Yeah, you take away those 2 empty net goals that he's had this year, he's sitting at 4 points on the season, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which would make him 6th, which would put him 6th on the team in points. Not good enough for Auston Matthews, who's last year was in the mix for MVP, in the mix for, or 2 years ago, rather, in the mix for an MVP, in the mix for the Ted Lindsay. Like, this guy's an all-around player. He's an all-world player, but he's got to, when he's on his game, he is that. And he has not been on his game to start the season. And that switch has to flip here, like now. Let's get going here. So he has as many points as Morgan Rielly. Like, him and Rielly are both tied with 6 points this year. It's kind of wild to think about. In behind Nylander, behind Tavares, behind Nyes is finally Rielly and Matthews with 6 points apiece to round out your top 5 scoring for the Leafs. So, yeah, need to see way more out of Auston Matthews, and maybe a matchup against a team that he's had a lot of success against is just what the doctor ordered. But we said that against the Devils, where he had also been scoring at a goal per game pace heading into that game and did not have much success himself. So we'll see what he's got in him. Should be an interesting weekend. We'll reconvene on Monday to break it all down for everyone. Again, the time changes. Games at 7 o'clock tonight on Friday, 5 o'clock start on Saturday. Leaf Sabres, little back-to-back action. That'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys on Monday. Until then, go Leafs, go Jays, go. Keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.